I think the reason his legacy is going to live on forever, you hear constantly about the type of man that he was. Anyone who shared a locker room with him said he was wonderful to be around. So I think the real legacy of Owen Hart is not just, again, what he did in that ring, but who he was as a person.
The Owen Hart Foundation Tournament is a yearly showcase of pro wrestling in its many forms, with many of the best and biggest names gathering every year to compete and honor the name of Owen Hart. Named after a pioneer and inspiration in this sport, the Owen Hart Tournament, or simply known as the Owen, is a single elimination style tournament held every year. Two tournaments are held simultaneously, with one bracket for the men and another for the women, with 8 competitors each. But for this video, I want to focus on the men's bracket of the Owen, just so I can give them proper emphasis and time, and because I also want to give the women's brackets the same treatment as well. Originally, the winners of this tournament are rewarded the Owen Cup and a commemorative championship belt, but ever since the 2024 tournament, the stakes were raised with the winners being guaranteed a spot for a World Championship match at All In. With the finals fast approaching at this year's Double or Nothing, I thought this would be a good opportunity to revisit the history and prestige of the Owen. The inaugural tournament was first announced during the tail end of 2021, and not much else would be known until the qualifying matches during the spring of the next year. This collaboration between AEW and the Owen Hart Foundation, led by Dr. Martha Hart, was a big deal during its announcement, because after Owen Hart's tragic death in 1999, his name and likeness has been kept away from pro wrestling as requested by his family. And after more than 20 years, AEW has been given the responsibility of honoring his name and legacy through this tournament. And that's exactly what they did, with wrestlers like Samoa Joe, Rey Fenix, Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole, Dax Harwood, Darby Allin, Jeff Hardy, and the wildcard in Johnny Elite, all qualifying to compete in the inaugural Owen Cup. As the old saying goes, styles make fights, and this tournament had no shortage in styles with powerhouses, high flyers, and technical specialists. This tournament was special because it delivered a lot of first-time ever matches, like Rey Fenix Lucha style going against Kyle O'Reilly's mastery of submission. Fans were also given a dream match of Darby Allin facing off against fellow Daredevil in Jeff Hardy with a no disqualification stipulation. However, despite all these big names and big matches in this tournament, the two finalists were obvious from the start: Adam Cole and Samoa Joe, a match that has been teased and been building since their time in WWE. Both Adam and Joe's careers ran similar paths, dominating in ROH, then NXT, and now in AEW, where both of them finally collide. In the finals, Samoa Joe easily dominated most of this match, using his size and strength to his advantage. However, Adam Cole was no stranger to fighting wrestlers twice his size, often being able to slip past and outsmart his stronger opponent. And with a little assist from Bobby Fish, Adam Cole was able to steal the win and become the inaugural Men's Owen Hart Cup winner. While the first tournament had a theme of first-time ever matchups, the second Owen was built with the birth of AEW's new weekly show, Collision. And while there were no qualifying rounds anymore, let me assure you that the wrestlers involved lived up to the hype of the first. CM Punk, Dustin Rhodes, Roderick Strong, Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricky Starks, Juice Robinson, a returning Samoa Joe, and a visitor from New Japan in Satoshi Kojima all threw their hat in the ring.
But until there is somebody in this company that can fill these boots, they belong on my feet. Tell me when I'm telling lies.
When CM Punk returned to AEW during the debut episode of Collision, it's safe to say he was vilified by many after the scandalous events of Brawl Out. Punk returned with a chip on his shoulder, and it showed by him being more aggressive and winning his side of the bracket. defeating the likes of the legendary Satoshi Kojima at Forbidden Door and facing off against his longtime and historic rival from ROH in Samoa Joe. Punk wasn't just here to wrestle anymore, he was here to make a statement. Ricky Starks was making a home for himself in Collision and putting on quite a spectacle of matches, beating the likes of his rival in Juice Robinson, and then defeating his former teammate in Powerhouse Hobbs in the semifinals. Ricky Starks, despite allying with Punk in many occasions, knew that he had to put their relationship aside if he wanted not just to win the Owen, but the chance to prove that he can be the one to put Punk away and fill in his shoes as the next top star of the company. Ricky stood up to the plate and was able to hold Punk into a stalemate during their fantastic match. While Ricky brought all the flair and explosive moments, Punk was able to play the smart veteran, always countering to gain the upper hand. However, Ricky was able to beat Punk in his own game, using the ropes to his advantage to steal the win and the Owen. And while the first two tournaments were great, there was always a lingering question surrounding the tournament. When it was over, what now? A fair question in all honesty. Sure, it was impressive to win a tournament, but after at least a month's worth of TV time, the Owen always felt rather inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. And that's why during the 2024 Owen, a new reward was laid out, with the winner of the Owen also being given a world title match at the biggest pay-per-view of the year, All In. With bigger stakes, of course bigger names got involved. The American Dragon Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli, the Bastard Pac, Rey Fenix, Switchblade Jay White, the Last Outlaw Jeff Jarrett, a New Japan rep in the Dragon Shingo Takagi, and the wildcard later revealed to be Adam Hangman Page. But despite all these big-name competitors, everyone also knew it would boil down to Bryan Danielson, a wrestling legend in the last run of his career, with the Owen being his last ever chance to become AEW World Champion, and Hangman Adam Page, who was returning from suspension to AEW with vengeance and an arrow aimed towards his mortal enemy and world champion Swerve Strickland. After failing his promise to stop Swerve being champion at Dynasty, Hangman is now dead set to take that title off of Swerve and humiliate him on the biggest stage possible. And while Hangman steamrolled through his side of the bracket, wiping out Jeff Jarrett during the first round, and surviving against Jay White, finally getting a win over him in singles competition, Danielson struggled a bit more, facing punishment from Shingo Takagi at Forbidden Door and being pushed to the limit by the Bastard Pac. Danielson had to fight and struggle with everything he had if he even wants a chance against one of the most physical wrestlers in AEW in Hangman Adam Page. Of course, Hangman and Danielson are no strangers to each other. At one point, both men went to a 60-minute time limit draw for the AEW World Championship. Either way this rematch ended at the Owen Finals, the crowd would have been happy to either see Hangman finally get his hands on Swerve, or to finally see the best wrestler who ever lived in Danielson finally become the world champion. With Jeff Jarrett working as the special enforcer, both Hangman and Danielson gave what was expected of them in a violent combination of hard-hitting strikes and clever wrestling technique. And while Hangman's blind rage gave him the advantage for most of the match, overpowering and even bloodying Danielson, in the end, that rage was his downfall, as Danielson was able to slip away, reversing into a cradle pin for the win. After winning the Owen, Danielson definitely didn't waste his opportunity. He knew Swerve was just as violent and dangerous as Hangman Page, but the American Dragon persisted, especially with the support of his friends in the BCC and Jeff Jarrett. In the end, Danielson finally won the World Championship in the main event of All In. At the time of this recording, we are at the tail end of the 2025 Owen Hart Cup, and let me assure you the prestige of this tournament has only gotten higher, with this year's finalists being a returning Hangman Page and the aerial assassin Will Ospreay, with not only the Owen and the world title opportunity on the line, but also the right to be recognized as the main character of AEW. While it feels like Adam Cole and Ricky Starks were robbed after winning their respective tournaments, they were definitely rewarded in other ways. After Adam Cole won his tournament in 2022, he eventually found his way to All In the next year in the main event in a losing effort for the world title against MJF. And as of this video, Adam Cole is currently the TNT champion, winning it from Daniel Garcia. Ricky Starks, on the other hand, got a rematch against CM Punk with the real world championship on the line. Unfortunately, Ricky lost, however, eventually Starks partnered with Big Bill and they won the tag team championships. Even after 3 finished tournaments, currently 4, AEW hasn't forgotten what made the Owen so special in the first place. Aside from the world title shot, and aside from the prestige that came with it, the Owen continues to be a showcase of the best that wrestling has to offer. AEW has done really well to honor the name and legacy of Owen Hart by delivering some of the most compelling stories and matches during these tournaments. Thank you all for watching. Remember to stay tuned for the Women's Owen Tournament soon. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, for there are still more tapes to rewind.